Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're talking about how you can play a song called She Is by Neo. And we're going to end up capoing this on 2nd fret to kind of match the recording, and we're going to talk about some easy ways to kind of strum through this and then kind of get to some fingerstyle ways and some ways to kind of match the licks from the tune. But we're going to start out on a G major chord, and when we play G major, first finger goes to the A string on the 2nd fret, second finger on the low E string on the 3rd fret, and the 3rd finger on the high E string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. Now, because of the lick though through the tune, you may want to consider another G major where you do first finger on the A string second finger on the low E string third, and take the 3rd finger and go to the B string on the 3rd fret and the pinky on the high E string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. So that's another way you may want to play your G through the song. And then from the G, we're going to be going to a C major chord. When we play C major, first finger goes to the B string on the 1st fret, second finger on the D string on the 2nd fret, and 3rd finger on the A string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum the A string and the high E string, that'll get your clear sound, and that's called C major, and it sounds really, really happy. Now, another C you may want to think about using is something called C major 9. When we play C major 9, first finger goes to the D string on the 2nd fret, second finger on the A string on the 3rd fret, 3rd finger on the B string on the 3rd fret, the pinky on the high E string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum the A string to the high E string, that sounds a C major 9. You can kind of consider using that for your C chords through the song. And then from the C, we're going to be going to an E minor chord. When we play E minor, first finger goes to the A string on the 2nd fret, second finger on the D string on the 2nd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds an E minor chord, and it sounds really, really sad. Now, another E minor you might want to consider through the song is something called E minor 7, where you take the E minor and kind of take the 3rd finger and go to the B string 3rd fret, pinky on the high E string 3rd fret. That sounds E minor 7, and it still sounds kind of groovy sad. And so the advantage of using kind of those voicings where we got 3rd finger on the B string, pinky on the high E string, is then you can kind of hold on to those as kind of like an anchor or a guide finger through the intro. And our intro is also kind of our chorus, and it's also kind of our verse. So we kind of have the G, G, C, C, E minor, C, C. But a lot of times with a song like this, to make it more interesting, I like adding something called a strum pattern. And one of my favorite strum patterns for a 4/4 like this is down, down, up, down, up. And it could completely work. It'll be very, very fast though. But if we try the G that way, we'd have down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, up. So we try that through our intro verse chorus. We'd have G down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, E minor, down, down, up, down, E minor, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, up. And then we're basically going to be repeating that until we get to our pre-chorus. And our pre-chorus, we go to a D major chord, and we play D major. First finger goes to the G string on the 2nd fret, second finger goes to the high E on the 2nd fret, and the 3rd finger goes to the B string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum the D string to the high E string, that sounds a D major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. Now, another D major you may want to consider through the tune is actually kind of working off of a C major chord shape, where you take the C major and then slide it over 2 frets. Now you got first finger on the B string 3rd, second finger on the D string 4th, 3rd finger on the A string 5th. That's another way you could play your D major. That's called D add 4. I'm kind of calling it D add 4. And then from the D, we're going to be going to an A minor chord. When we play A minor, first finger goes to the B string on the 1st fret, second finger on the D string 2nd fret, 3rd finger on the G string 2nd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds an A minor chord, and it sounds really, really sad. Now, another A minor I would dig on actually for this song though is if you take that shape and then lift off 3rd finger, that's something called A minor 7, which actually I think could be very, very cool. And then from the A minor, then we're going back to the D major, and then another D major, and then we go to C major, and then we kind of end up with kind of almost like a stop time, with like down on the last C. So we tried that with our strum pattern. We'd have D with a down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, A minor, down, down, up, down, A minor, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, basically going to be repeating parts until we kind of get to our solo part. And on our solo, we start on E minor, and then we do more E minor, and then we go to D major, and then more D major, and then we go to C major, and then more C major, and then more C major, and then more C major, and then we start that over again. So we tried our solo with our strum pattern. We have E minor with a down, down, up, down, E minor, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, B, down, down, up, down, C, 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 down, down, up, down. So you're repeating that. Now the weird thing is though, to play along with Neo, instead of starting on a G major chord, it's actually starting on an A major chord. So to play along with the recording, what you want to do is take a capo, and if you put the capo on 2nd fret, now your G major is really an A major chord, your C major is really a D major chord, your E minor is really an F sharp minor chord, and when we get to it, the D major is really an E major chord, and your A minor is really a B minor chord. But to take it from the very, very beginning, we can start off with kind of our intro verse chorus where we go G down, up, down, G down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, G down, up, down, G down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, and then we'd be going into our pre-chorus part. So we'd have our D with down, down, up, down, D down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, D down, up, down, D down, up, down, C down, up, down, big C. And then we'd be going into our chorus part, which is just like our intro verse, where we have the G with down, up, down, G down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, G down, up, down, G down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, C down, up, down the big C, and then we kind of pick it right back up for our chorus, and then kind of tag G, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, E minor down, up, down, C down, up, down, C down, up, down, and then from there, then we'd be going back into our verse. Now, one other thing I would think about adding to this song, though, is bass notes. And a lot of times on that first down of the down, down, up, down, up, you can throw in a bass note before the chord. So on the G chord, your low D string would be your bass. Your low E bass, down, up, down, G, low E bass, down, up, down. On your C chord, you have the A string for your bass. And then on the E minor, you have the low E string for your bass. And when we get to it on the D major, on the regular D major, you have D string for the bass. For the D add 4, you'd have the A string for the bass, kind of digging on that voicing. And then on the A minor, you'd have the A string for the bass. So we tried that next verse, kind of with a bass, down, up, down, up. We'd have G with a bass, down, up, G with a bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, E minor, low E bass, down, down, E minor, low E bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, G with low E bass, down, down, G with low E bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, E minor, low E bass, down, down, E minor, low E bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down. We were going back into our pre-chorus. We tried that with our bass, down, up, down, up. We have D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, A minor, the A bass, down, down, A minor, the A bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, big C. And from there, then we'll be going back into our chorus part. And it's kind of that same progression. We got G with the bass, down, up, down, G with the bass, down, up, down, C with an A bass, down, up, down, C with an A bass, down, up, down, E minor, Louis bass, down, down, E minor, Louis bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down. That chorus with our bass down, up, down, we'd have G with the bass, down, down, G with the bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, E minor, Louis bass, down, down, E minor, Louis bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down. We'll be repeating that 3 times until we get to our solo part. And we could do our solo with just our down, down, up, down, up. We'd have E minor, down, down, up, down, E minor, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, C, down, 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 C, down, 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 E minor, down, down, Oh, or we could do it with our bass down, down, E minor, the bass, down, down, E minor, the bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, just kind of a big stop time C. And then from there, then we'll be going into our chorus part, actually, all the way through our outro for the end of the song. Now, one other thing that I would think about using for the song, though, is doing this fingerstyle. And basically, the way fingerstyle works is your thumb becomes your bass player for the E string and the A string and the D string. And for an easy pattern, if you took the index finger and lined them up on the G string, middle finger on the B string, and then the ring finger on the high E string, you could kind of work some really cool arpeggios, kind of breaking up the chords. Actually, that's what arpeggio means, is broken chord. So one way to do that, actually, what I think kind of matches the tune really well, is doing kind of thumb and then middle, index, ring, and then coming back middle, index, middle. So I'm going bass, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle, bass, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle, or low E string for the G chord, and then B, G, E, B, G, B, E, low E, B, G, E, B, G, B. And you could basically do that arpeggio for all the chords that we're kind of following, and your thumb would just kind of follow through for the basses. So E minor, Louis bass, C with an A bass, G with Louis bass, C with an A bass, E minor, Louis bass, C with an A bass. So we're going to kind of backtrack and then try that through our pre-chorus. And you have D with a D bass, A minor with an A bass, D, C, C. And you can even kind of do all the fingers together, or you can even strum kind of to get those stop times for the C's. And then if we tried our solo part that way, we'd have E minor, D, some really cool licks that are actually kind of happening in a very similar way to how we're fingerstyling. So if you wanted to kind of sound exactly like the recording, you could do third on the low E, open D, second on the A, and then second on the G, and then open D, second on the A, open G, open D, second on the A, and then third fret on the B string, and then G string, and then D string, and then G string. So 3, 0, 2, 2, 0, 2, 0. 3, 0, 0, 3, 0, 2, 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 2, 3, 0, 2, 0. And on the C chord, you could do the A string for your bass, open G, second on the D, and then second on the G, and then second on the D, third on the A, open G, second on the D, third on the A, third fret on the B, open G, open D, open G. And then for the E minor, you have low E, open D, second on the A, second on the G, open D, second on the A, open G, open D, on the A, third fret on the B, open G, open D, and then open G. So that kind of becomes our E minor lick. So you start out with the G lick, and then the C lick, and then the E minor lick, and then going back to the C lick. Kind of play around with that too. And then we get to your pre-chorus part. If you started on the D add 4, and we'd be going to A string, G string, D string, B string, and then coming back G and then D, G on that. And we'd end up doing that twice, actually, for the D add 4. And then when we go to the A minor, then we kind of be doing that same arpeggio, but around the A chord with the A bass, back to the D add 4. Kind of cool on that C chord, that then you can kind of add the pinky in on the B string for that third fret on the B string is kind of a D note. It kind of makes it a C major 9 for a moment. So you'd have that A, D, G, B, G, D, and then you kind of go back to the first fret on the B string. That's kind of a lick at the very end of that pre-chorus. So you may want to kind of think about that too, kind of that D lick. D, A minor, D, and then kind of the C tag at the very, very end. So you may want to kind of experiment with those too. But that's the basics of how you can strum through and easily fingerstyle through She Is by Neo. So good luck!